Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing with our series on women in leadership and our guest is Momina Dar. She is the visionary founder and CEO of the Building Teams and Inspiring Leadership Academy. With a wealth of experience in HR and a commitment to supporting women in leadership, Momina's transformative projects, from gender and diversity assessments to crafting inclusive recruitment systems, showcase her as a dynamic leader shaping the landscape of HR, leadership, and diversity. So let's go and talk to her. Hi, Momina. How are you?
Good, thank you so much.
Good to have you here. I'm going to start by asking you to share a bit about your journey in the field of human resources and your motivation behind founding BTIL Academy, which is Building Teams and Inspiring Leadership, and how you support women in leadership roles.
Okay, thank you. It's a very good question. So, the journey kind of started back in 2005, like many professionals in this sector with the earthquake, and you can say that I just hit the ground running, and amidst that hiring and interviews and traveling, the discussions on human rights, feminism, patriarchy, and development approaches, there's something that kind of brought a very different perspective to life. And it helped me in looking at the life in a different way, or to kind of grab that bigger meaning that otherwise was missing from the work. So I decided to stay with this sector in the human resource, but at the same time, I kept on learning about other things, and I was always interested in training and development. 4 or 5 years back, I was like, okay, now it is time, and I think I'm there where I can give back to the sector in a more broader sense. So we founded this PTIL Academy, and the principle behind is this: to help the humanitarian and development sector in becoming more effective organizations, also promoting principle-centered leadership, because I felt that in this sector, if the leadership is principle-centered, if they know what they're doing, then they can do wonders. So myself has worked as a senior manager on leadership position with a number of organizations, and I can see the struggle that women make in getting their rightful share in those leadership roles and in on the table, let's put it this way. So I was like, okay, let's provide that opportunities to all the women that I can, in kind of realizing themselves, in exploring their potential, in believing in themselves. So you can say now that there are two parts that we work on. One is organizational development, where we work with all the actors in civil society, and the other is a complete piece, which is women leadership development, where we work with women. And we don't only work with Pakistani women, we also work with Afghan women. So that's what it is briefly.
Through your organization, you emphasize supporting women in leadership. So, what specific challenges do women face in leadership roles, and how does your academy address these challenges?
The challenges that women face is this: that as I said earlier, the first is the stereotype that exists, where you're not ready to see yourself as a leader. The other is this: that women don't have an understanding that when they will go to office, what type of barriers there will be. And that barriers can be in terms of the glass ceiling that we called it, but there is also inequality in terms of salaries that they received, or the interviews, the biases that are there in the interviews, so stuff like this, or just the fact that the leadership has such a stereotypical image, which is very male centered, that the women are not being seen as suitable for those senior management roles or for those promotions. So these are the challenges that they are facing. These are the challenges that we faced when we started our career, where somebody said to me that, oh, you're too aggressive, because you're just being straightforward in or you are not getting up to help everyone, they'll say, oh no, she's not woman enough, she's very stubborn, or she negotiates, so she's not somebody that we want. So all these things, so these are the challenges that they come up with, and then we take them through and we kind of unpack them, that how wrong they
Got
are.
it. Having worked with gender and diversity assessments, how do you believe organizations can foster a more inclusive environment for women in leadership?
One of the barrier that organization or society face is the unconscious biases that are there, that we're not, of course, aware of, and they are there. Now, if we work on the unconscious biases and make people aware of those biases, it is a step that is needed and it is must. However, it's a very slow process. It's a very slow process. It will may take 30, 40 years for people to change, society to evolve. So when I work with organization on those, on the gender diversity and on inclusiveness, then I say, let's make changes in the system. We call it design thinking. And it says that why not make changes in the policies? Why not make changes in the procedures so that we can control the unconscious bias that is there? So, for example, why not make the salaries open, and transparent, the process transparent? Why? Because women are not going to negotiate, and men are going to negotiate. And when men negotiate, their likeness is not affected. But when more women negotiate, their likeness is affected. So if a woman has to bargain between a likeness and negotiation, she's not going to negotiate. And what
Very
she'll end up
interesting.
with is salary. So what happens is they'll say, why there shouldn't be negotiation in the salary offer. Similarly, we make changes in the recruitment process, then we make changes in the promotion process or in the performance appraisals. So this is how we ask organization to make changes in the system. Then I also talk about small things. I'll say, whenever I do training on diversity and inclusion, I always tell the scene. Another important thing is that the senior management needs to be there. The leadership needs to be there. And last year I worked with one organization and I was very impressed by their national director, or he was all the time there throughout the training, and he was present, attentive. That gives a message to the rest of the employees in the organization that we are serious about it, and this needs to be worked out.
You've led change management initiatives successfully. How do you approach fostering leadership skills in women to adapt to and drive organizational change?
One of the most important thing about any change is the communication. And and the research has shown this, that women on the top leadership position are normally very lonely. They have very few friends in the organization. So what I always say to women is this, that if they want to bring any change in the organization, they should establish their allies, and they can be men and women both. I always say to women on leadership position that you're supposed to support each other. And when I say support each other, I don't mean that support each other in office politics or other things, but support each other in terms of getting together, doing the initiatives, making sure that you're not part of the group that is undermining another woman. So one is this: have your allies, and the other is communication. Communicate as much as you can, and especially with a woman leader, it's very important that they tell them why they're doing certain thing, what is in it, and what is it in it for them.
So, Momina, in your view, what are the top three skills or qualities that women leaders should prioritize while developing themselves, and how can they go about honing these skills?
One thing that is very important for any person who's going to be on the leadership position, and especially for women, is self-awareness. And when I say self-awareness, I mean we need to understand that where our fears are coming from, where our weaknesses are, what our strengths are, the personality that I think is my personality, is it really is, or is it something that I have adapted because of the way I was raised? And I was like, this is how I should be. So self-awareness is very important. And because you're going to manage teams, you're going to manage the boss as well. You're also going to manage the peers. If you're not sure why you act in a certain way, you're not going to be successful. So self-awareness is extremely important, and there are a lot of tools available for that that can help you. But at the same time, self-reflection, giving yourself time is going to help in that self-awareness. Not rushing is very important for women on leadership position, giving themselves time. The other thing that they need to do is rethinking. Rethinking should become a habit. Our past doesn't define who we are, should never define. That's why holding on to those opinions or holding on to your past is not going to help you. Those can be any opinions. They can be opinion that, oh, I'm not good at managing people. They can be opinion about that all men are bad. They can be opinion about, oh, women don't help each other. Or they can be opinion about your work sector, anything that are holding back. So the rethinking is extremely, extremely important. And the third thing is infinite mindset. As a woman, we need to understand that our life has a different trajectory than men. So we should stop comparing, let's say, our chapter 4 with someone's chapter 22. And also our chapters are totally different because we're different. This is also very important for women to understand that, and they should have women role models. And I'm not saying they don't read about good men too, but you also should read about other women role models, and get as many books as can that's written on women life, so that you know that how a certain woman what she did and that I can do as well. And that's what, like, I'm so it's so important that growing up as well, the young girls, they read about other women and what they were able to do with their life, because we just see men doing so many things. Right. We kind of limit ourselves into a box and say, I cannot do that because I don't see another. Seeing is believing. So live with that infinite mindset where you say, no failure is going to define me. And this worldly definition of success that is normally okay for any man is not going to define me. I'm going to write my own story. I'm going to write my own success. I have my own lows, that's fine, but they're not going to define me.
That was a wonderful discussion, Momina. Thank you so much for being here.
I love having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. If you did, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.